Today in section 12.6, we're going to tackle our retirement funds that we get from Social Security. Okay, to talk about this, let's go back and look at, this was an act passed in 1936. It was called the Federal Social Security Act. And it was originally made so that there could be a pool of money that people could pay into it and then get money back when they were old enough to retire. Okay, and it was basically, the original purpose was to supply benefits within the means of society. Okay, just the bare minimum of what you needed to survive, of what society said. Okay, it was limited so that it could keep the benefits to the needs of the lower income, not the higher. So the standard was an actual lower amount. And it was to keep people from becoming dependent on the state. They didn't want the state to have to keep paying money into this. It was supposed to be, in a sense, pay as you go. And that, well, that's not what it has become today, unfortunately. It's a pay as you go plan. And to do this, you need to have a large amount of people paying into it to pay for the retirement. And things have changed. Back in 1950, the ratio of those that were paying into their FICA into this pool and that of Social Security was about 16, and only one person would be drawing out. That was what the ratio was, 16 to 1. So every one person drawing out, there was 16 people putting their money in. Now, as we are getting to it, our ratio is close to 2 to 1. So there's one person pulling out benefits that two people are paying in. This ratio is going down, and it will not be able to last if it keeps going this rate. And so the reason is because the things have changed, okay? Requirements, government standards have changed. More people are retiring now than what are working. The baby boomers are now to the age of retiring, and there's just not enough funds going in to pay for this retirement. And unfortunately, by the time you get there, it probably will not exist, or some major changes would have had to happen by that point. Okay, with Social Security, there's actually many parts of it. There is medical insurance, there's disability, there's death and survival payments, but we in this lesson are just talking about the retirement portion of it, okay? So yes, I know there's many parts, but we're just going to focus on this one part. Now, who is able to pull out Social Security? Basically, anybody who works for 40 quarters, and what that really means is 10 years. If you have worked for 10 years and paid in your FICA taxes, you are eligible for this full retirement benefits, okay, when you reach the age of retirement. Okay, so there is a chart in our book on page 475 that we're going to talk about. And basically, it's based off, the amount is based off an index, which is an adjustment of the income to take in consideration for inflation, okay? And so where do they get this information from? They get it from this table that we're going to look at on page 475. Table 12.6 lists the average salaries since 1965, okay? And because obviously prices have changed since then, we need to take an index of it. And so what it does is, we've got an equation here. Basically, it's the average U.S. wage of the second year of whatever we're looking at. Maybe it's when the person turned 60 compared to when he started working. We're going to divide that second wage by the first wage, and then we're going to multiply it by the wage of the very first year. Okay, that will give me the index. That's basically what it's doing, is bringing that price from the original year to the price of whatever that second year is, okay? And so it's taking into account for inflation. So what the Social Administration Office does is it indexes the earnings so that up until you turn age 60. So they're taking that average of what the 35 years that you work. They're going to take the top 35 years, get an average of that, and that's what they're going to apply to helping you figure out how much benefits you're going to get. So they index your salary to age 60, and then after that, it's what that face value is. Okay, so like I showed you on the page there in your book, this is the equation that we're going to use for indexing. And we're going to look at example 1 here and see what exactly it means, okay? So in example 1, it says if George turned 60 in 2001, find the 2001 indexed value of his 1986 earnings of $16,946.26. And we're going to have to use table 12.6 to help us out. So basically, we want to figure out his earnings in 1986 was this, $16,946. Now, at that rate, would that rate be compared for his salary today? Okay, and so we're going to have to use the equation up above, and we're going to have to go into our chart and look up what the average salary in 2001 was. And by looking at the chart 12.6, the average salary was $32,921.92. I'm going to take that average, and we're going to call that year 2, and we're going to divide it by the year 1, that first year of 1986. And by looking at that chart, I find out that it's $17,321.82. Okay? Now, I'm going to take that ratio basically and multiply it by his earnings that he had. And this is going to be what he would have been paid in 1986. And because of inflation, that price value this is what it would be in today's earning, in 2001 earning, okay? And so that is all because of inflation. Okay, now, like I said, the Social Security office is going to take the average, okay? And what they do is they have this, an average index monthly earning, and it's called the AIME. It's a lot shorter to say. And what they do is they take the highest 35 years wages, okay? They take that index and then they divide it by 12, okay? And that's the AIME. And we're going to need to use that as we work through our problems. And what we're going to do is we're looking for the primary insurance amount. That's how much you're going to get paid each month. It's a monthly benefit, and that's called the PIA. So this is the two types of answers that we'll be looking for, is the AIME and the PIA. Now, let's actually look at some problems to see how this all works out, okay? So example number 2 says find the primary insurance amount, the PIA, so it's that average, okay, for Jane, whose average yearly indexed earnings was $17,138. Now, this total right here, $17,138, is her index total, and it is yearly. Remember, our AIME is by month. So my very first step is I need to take this total, and I need to divide it by 12. This is going to give me her monthly amount. Okay. Now the next thing I need to do is go back and look at table 12.7. We haven't talked about 12.7 yet. Table 12.7 is on page 476. And this table tells us how they give us the benefits for our Social Security here. So the AMIE is your monthly amount, okay, your average. And if it is, your average amount is less than $606 here, up to $606 or less, you're going to get 90% of that average. So you're going to go 0.90 times whatever that AMIE is. And that's how much you're going to get for Social Security. The next row here deals with if your average monthly amount is between 606 and 3,653. You're then going to take this amount. Then you're going to add 32% of your AIME that's over $606. So basically, whatever your AIME is, you're going to subtract 606. Once you get that amount, you're going to multiply it by 0.32, and then you're going to add it to the $545.40. That is what you would be getting in benefits. Now, the last row here deals with your AIME that is over this amount here, $3,653. This is how we would go about it. We would take that amount, whatever that was, and subtract this amount. I would multiply it by 15% and add it to that total. Okay, so this is the chart that we're going to have to work with to find our benefits. Now, watch closely underneath here. Be very careful. They've got asterisk here with tiny print, and this stuff is important. If you notice in my textbook, I highlighted it, so I do not miss it. Now, people can retire early, but that's going to change their benefit amount. And so for early retirement, it's going to reduce by percentage per month an amount, okay? And depending on how much, the first 36 months or the first 3 years, it's going to be reduced by this amount. But if you retire even earlier than that, you're going to have to add an extra percentage to it. Okay, we'll have an example later that works with this. Now, sometimes people work longer than what the average retirement is. And if you work longer, you actually get a benefit. You get more retirement. So we're going to do some examples to work with that, but those small print underneath that table is very important. Okay, so back to our example here. We're trying to find how much benefits Jane will get, okay? Now, looking at our table on 12.7, we found out, remember, her AIME, her monthly was $1,428.17. That falls in between that middle row there. And so that middle row said that I needed to take $545.40, add 32% of what that difference was. So I took her AMIE, subtract the $606, multiply it by the 0.32 for 32%, add it, and I find out that her total amount here, once that you go through all the math and the steps, her monthly benefits are $808.49. Now, the government rounds it and gives an even amount, is what our book is telling us to do here. And so we would round it to $808 would be her benefits to the nearest dollar. Okay, so to do this, I had to look at table 12.7 to tell me what to do once I got past step 1. Okay, so we're going to go on now. And remember how I said by looking at the table that what age you retire at affects your benefits. And so we're going to look at an example here. And this person, Jane, okay, for the monthly retirement benefit for Jane, we're going to still use her. Let's say she retires early. Okay, we already know if she retired on time, she would get $808. But now we're saying, you know what? She's retiring 5 months after she turns 63. Okay, so what we need is to figure out how much she's going to get. If you notice, it says full retirement age is 67. So she retired quite a bit early. So the very first thing I need to see is how much is many years did she retire early by. So what I'm going to do is take 67 years in 0 months, and then I'm going to subtract. It says she retired 5 months after she turned 63. So she was 63 years and 5 months. Now, when we subtract from this, I can't subtract the 5 from 0, so I need to take a complete year off. So I switch that to 66 years, and that would turn into 12 months. And then I'm going to subtract 12 from 5, which I can do now is 7 months, and 66 minus 63 is 3 years. So she retired 3 years and 7 months early. Okay, now the thing is we need to switch this to total months. So my years, I'm going to multiply by 12 and get it into months, which would be 36. Then 36 plus my 7 gives me a total of 43 months that she retired early by. Now, what we're going to do is figure out what this means by percentage, okay? So if we look underneath that chart, it said that for the first 36 months, so here's my 36 months, she gets a reduction of 5/9%. Okay. Now, anything over that 36 months, so 43 minus 36 gave me 7. I'm going to have to add on an extra percentage to that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the best way to work with this in your calculators, if you don't have the percentage, is we're going to go ahead and take the 5 divided by 9, okay, times the 36, and do the same here for the percents. I find out that I get 22.91 with 6 repeating. We're going to go ahead and round it to the nearest tenth. And this is the percentage off, okay? Since this is already percent, I didn't need to deal with decimals or anything. I just took the 5 divided by 9 and multiplied. So my percentage is her benefits, her $808 of benefits is going to be reduced by 22.9%, okay, because she retired early. Now to figure out how much that is in dollar worth, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some multiplying. The best way to do is 100% of your benefits would be the 808. So we're going to subtract the 22.9 from the 100%. And I know of her $808, she's going to get 77.1% of that in her monthly benefits to her. So once I figure out how much percentage I'm going to actually get, by subtracting there, I'm then going to go ahead and multiply. So turn the 77.1 to a decimal. Multiply that by the full amount of the benefits, and that will be either told to you in the problem or like in our example that we did before, we had the full amount. And then we get a dollar amount. And now our answer, our book tells us that we want to round to the nearest dollar, so that would be $623 that she would get in benefits. So it shows you if you're really dependent on that money, you do not want to retire early because it does take a big chunk out of your money that you're going to be given to you monthly. She's getting $623 instead of the $808. Okay, so some people, because they don't have enough funds for retirement, might decide to work longer. And here we have Jose. He worked until he was 68 years and 6 months, and the average retirement, it says, is 67 years. So he's worked longer. If his AIME was 3,701, we want to know what is his benefits. So just like we did in the last example, we need to figure out how much extra months he worked. And so we'll get to that in a minute, but we need to actually look at his benefits, okay? So looking at his PIA, and that we are actually having to find the dollar amount because this didn't give us the benefits total. Before we can find the time in that, we actually need to know how much benefits we need. So this was his average AIME. And so now I need to go back to the chart, 12.7 and 3,701. Here's the chart again. Falls into the second category here. Does it? Actually, we have 3,701. Yes, it falls into the third category here. And so my first very step to this problem is to find his retirement benefits. So I have 1,520.44, and then I'm going to take 15% of what the difference was. And once I do the math and follow it through, I find out that his retirement benefits per monthly payment here is $1,527.64. Okay, I need that total for later on in the problem. Now I can go ahead and find out how many years extra he worked. And so he worked 68 years and 6 months. Average retirement is 67 years. Subtract them. I need to turn my year into 12 months, add them together, and I find out that he worked 18 months extra. So now in that fine print underneath, it said that late retirement increased your benefits by 2/3. So I'm going to take the 2/3% times the 18 months. So 2 divided by 3 times the 18, I find out is 12%. Okay, now we're not going to subtract it, because he's worked over the 100%. I'm going to take that 100% and add the 12. So he's working at 112% more benefits here. So I'm going to take that 112, move the decimal 2 to the left to turn it to 1.112, multiply it by the benefits that we had to find up here in step 1. And I find out, once we round it to the nearest dollar, that he's getting $1,711 for his monthly retirement benefits. Okay, so if your body is able to work and you're able to do it at your job, it does help to work a little bit longer than the standard retirement, because it does add extra amount. Okay, guys, so these are the examples that you're going to be working at through your homework assignments. And just kind of to help guide you, since we're not in the classroom, our problems 1 through 4 in your textbook for the assignment are just like example number 1. Okay, looking at problems 5 through 8 on your assignment, those are examples 1 and 2. Okay, basically they're portions of it. So step 1 and 2 in example 3, and step 2 and 3 in example 4. So basically it's looking for that amount of what he's going to earn over, depending on how much he worked. Okay, problems 9 through 14 are just like example 2, and 15 through 18 are like 3 and 4. Okay, so I suggest that you take a look at them in your book, flip back and forth to the examples if you get stuck, to see where you should put some numbers. And if all else fails, text and email me and I'll help you through it. Have a good day.